things in there to reflect the AMP. Good morning, anybody who is joining us. Let me see. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. I would love to know in the chat, guys, where you are joining us from. Oh, glasses. There we go. Where are we from, guys? Springfield, amazing. I don't know if you know, but that is where our healing center is being built currently. Well, okay, Springfield, it is technically Augustine Heights. Minnesota, Chicago, Melbourne, Sydney, Bunbury. I love it. Marburg, Oregon, The Gap. I love it. Yes, picked up from Remedy the other day and drove past the site. I love it. Tampa, amazing. Arizona, Brisbane, Texas, Phoenix. Oh, two people from Bunbury, WA. I don't know if you guys know each other, but you're both from the same place. It is amazing to me. You know, I was traveling recently in the US and we would do student meetups and we might have, you know, say 50 students coming together. And there were students who literally live on the same street, different ends of the same street. And they're like, oh my gosh. It's always nice to have a friend close down the road. You know, maybe one day you need a remedy and you don't have it. You just walk on up to your neighbor and grab it. Coolum Beach, Idaho, Utah, love it. Central Coast, Hunter Valley, Tassie, Seattle. I love it. I love it. Oh, there's a Sunshine Coast in Canada. I live on the Sunshine Coast, but Australia, obviously. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I don't know if this is your first Q&A that you are attending, or I feel like some people are going to multiple because they just sort of want to be amongst the energy and excitement. Your third Q&A that you're attending. Yep, you've been at all of them. Awesome, guys. All right, let's crack into it. So we have here, there we go. Peter and Jean. I will let them introduce themselves right now. So Jean, tell us about you.
Oh, hi everyone. Yes, my name's Jean and I've been a homeopath for about 30 years now. And Mel, Peter and I are so excited to bring you this course. You know, it's a course I think we would have always wanted to do ourselves. But, you know, I've also been a university lecturer. I've been a researcher and I'm just passionate about all things homeopathy.
Love it. And Peter, tell us about yourself.
Yes, good morning. Peter Berryman here. I've been a homeopath for nearly 40 years. I've been in homeopathic education since 1990, private practice continuously since I graduated in 1985. I've graduated from 5 universities and 6 different colleges. That's about 14 years full-time equivalent at university. My father always said, when are you going to get a real job? So I've got a real job now. I'm a professor at an online homeopathic college and I'm loving every minute. This is absolutely amazing. Jean and I have taught in homeopathic colleges around the world. We know what used to be and we're doing something better. And this is it, a lot better.
I love it. And it's a funny fact, guys. So Peter was my lecturer when I was a young student, little 21-year-old. Peter was my lecturer. And then Jean was Peter's lecturer for his master's in homeopathy through UCLan in the UK. So we just go full circle here. But yes, my name is Melissa. I fell in love with homeopathy when I realized what it was and what it could do nearly a little over 10 years ago now. Oh my gosh, I'm getting older. And yes, since then, it's just been an obsessive passion. I feel like I could never get enough. I love consistently learning, even with our students right now, with everything, every guest lecturer who comes, anybody who presents new things. Peter, Jean and I are making a bit of a habit about visiting, you know, these conferences worldwide. We went to LA this year and we sat there, giddy little school kids with our laptops out, taking notes for, you know, 3 days straight. The fun never ends. And when it is something that you just truly love, it does not actually feel like studying. I can tell you that if you get into this career and you are, you know, the sort of person that just loves human psychology and healing and the power that we wield as homeopaths. This is just going to be a journey. You're going to be excited, honestly, for the rest of your life. It never stops. And where did we go before that? Oh yeah, Bali. I'm back in Bali right now, but yes, we were here last year together for a conference here with other homeopaths. So it's not just the learning, it's the connection and the community, and it's the fact that we as a profession are just completely changing the game of health, and we know it, and we all know that homeopathy is the world's best kept secret. So we are lucky to share that with the world. So let us get into it. Now, guys, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, but I will also ask you at the end to please just copy and paste them. Do them again at the end so I can do a quick flick through, because I'm probably going to answer a lot of the questions that you have throughout. All right, a new era. We are at the end of the pharmaceutical era. You guys know it, we know it. Antibiotics, steroids, all of these things that were heralded, in previous generations as like, this is the thing, this is it. We are now seeing the serious downfall of it, and people are looking for solutions. Homeopathy is the solution. So our mission, we want to bring homeopathy back to the people. We want to use this knowledge to heal not only ourselves, but the world. Our vision is to provide the highest level of homeopathic education in a revolutionary way, to graduate confident, competent practitioners who know how to run a successful practice. It is no good to just study, and have all of this knowledge if you do not know how to build a practice and actually reach people and have those ripple effects in your community. That's something in RMDY Academy that we take quite seriously, because I know when I graduated, I started with a 2-year advanced diploma. And at the end of that course, we might have had 25 of us in that class. Only 2 of us actually went on to practice homeopathic medicine. That is not good enough, guys. So we need to really make sure that you are confident. Now, this as a career path to be a homeopath, it is life-changing. You transform not only your career, but your entire perspective on health, healing, and human potential. We do not graduate as homeopaths the same people as when we went in. When you are even learning about remedies, for example, you hear about, the Nat Mer woman, and maybe parts of that really resonate with you and your story and your past. So often we hear from students, they just burst into tears when they're either watching a case that we're taking or they're learning about remedies. And it's this understanding that, you are not as unique as you think you are. A lot of your trials, a lot of your tribulations, other people have gone through it too. There are patterns to health, patterns to stress. There's reasons that we adapt and we develop, the coping mechanisms that we do. And when you see yourself reflected in a remedy picture, it's almost like so much of that can just melt away because you're just not bound by it anymore. It really does set you free, this knowledge. So that's one part of it. There is high demand for homeopaths. We are flat out trying to find homeopaths who practice in a really successful way that we can refer people to and make sure that they're getting good homeopathic care. There is a serious demand for homeopaths. We have in the world currently, if you say only look at the United States of America, you have over 1 million board certified medical physicians. 1 million of you. We, as homeopaths, we are very limited. We're in the couple of thousands. We need thousands upon thousands of homeopaths to get educated, to step up and start to take this burden off the world. We are being crippled by our mental health, our chronic health disease. Children are getting sicker and sicker. We've got to stop this downward spiral and really start to work our ways back up so that we can start to thrive as a world, sort of population. The flexibility of being a homeopath, like I said, I'm in the Bali hotel lobby. You can work from anywhere. We are not limited. When I first, started stepping into practice after graduating, I remember I was at Woodford Folk Festival working with Peter, where it's like thousands of people go to that festival. Peter, how many people actually go to Woodford each year?
Each day of 6 days, there's about 45,000 people in the festival area. And we provide a free homeopathic clinic sponsored by our generous sponsors. And we do amazing work. We see about 300 patients in 6 days and 6 nights.
Yeah, so it's really full on, guys. And we were there, and that night I was just laying in my car and I was emailing a client, and she was in the Middle East. I was working with them in fertility, and I just thought, I can't believe that I can be working. It's just this unlimited potential. The Middle East. Since then, I've worked with people in Lebanon. I've gotten remedies into Bosnia, literally anywhere. Obviously, most of my practice is the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but you are unbound. This is very different to any other modality. You think your poor acupuncturists and your massage therapists, they need to have their entire clientele quite local because people have to travel. Even naturopaths, it's quite rare for people to sort of book naturopaths internationally, but homeopaths, it's really common because we send our little bottles of powerful frequency medicine all around the world. I've been shipping first aid kits here, there, and everywhere. You are not bound by locality. So if you want flexibility, there is nothing like being a homeopath. And then financial success. A thriving homeopathic practice can be a sustainable and rewarding income source with limitless potential for growth and impact. You guys can create all sorts of things. You could do online courses. You could do like courses for children. There's homeschooling families that are desperate for like homeopathic curriculum. There are so many things that you could do outside of just your one-on-one practice with people. And even then, you could do niches. You can work in fertility. You can work with children. You can do whatever it is that really lights you up, and you will be financially rewarded because we teach you good boundaries and respect for our craft. Homeopathic medicine is so powerful. In the past, there's been a bit of a tendency towards natural health professionals being considered like, because if you work in natural health, you're probably really nice, right? And so you shouldn't, be too successful and, earning too much money and really thriving. That burnt out old practitioner model, that's so gone. That is not the way we operate. Homeopathy, it is the future, and we respect our craft by respecting ourselves and our professional boundaries. We should be financially rewarded. My father's a doctor, and, so I say this nicely, lovingly to doctors, but why should doctors be earning, $200, $300 plus $1,000 a year, where homeopaths who are healing and largely undoing a lot of the damage inflicted by these people, why should homeopaths not be thriving in the same way? We absolutely should be. Money in the hands of good people transforms worlds. So I've got no problem talking about how successful I believe you guys should be. Now, I'll let Jean speak to this. What sort of personality makes a good homeopath, Jean?
Somebody who's passionate about medicine, about healing people, somebody who's motivated, someone that is authentic. I think, if you're the sort of person that is seeing the potential for human growth, human potential, human health, then I think you will have the vision to be a good homeopath.
Yep, brilliant. With the career after the course, it's open, guys, to whatever you would like. If you would like to have a community clinic where, you just have people come to you and you want to be sort of like the family physician where they just come every day and go, amazing. That can be like a lot of acute, they wake up before school, you got a cold, all right, go down and see Mel the homeopath, get your remedy and off to school. You can operate as a homeopath like that. You could do more what Peter has thrived in, which is like that personal practice where people are booking in, having really long consults and getting to the depths of their trauma, the depths of their, chronic issues and resolving that. You can be a jack of all trades. You can just do literally anything that you can imagine of what you would like to do. The typical day. Oh yeah, Peter, go for it.
Well, because there's a large proportion of females taking our course and lots of those have families and children, I guess it's also important to say you can have a family-friendly private practice. You could work from home, online, or from your garage or a specific clinic room, and work school-friendly hours. You could still do the school drop-off and pickup, and then work from 9:30 till 30 in your private practice, and have that as a second income to your partner's chief bread income earning capacity. So if you want to have a side hustle as a low-key thing, that's also very doable, as well as a six-figure salary booming and zooming around the world. It's the
Yes.
world is your oyster.
Absolutely. And I think that really highlights it, Peter, in that a successful practice looks extremely different to all of us. You know, some people do not want it to be huge. They actually just want a couple of patients a week, and they are absolutely fulfilled in that. I started my practice. My husband was working full time. So I had 3 baby boys at home. And when my husband would get home from work, I would make myself a cup of tea. I would go downstairs into our garage, a little corner where I had a desk, and I would take my cases there. And it was such a relaxing, like, reward for me at the end of the day to just sit in solitude and hear the stories of my patients, and to be able to mentally think, you know, about the cases and be engaged and be excited. So whatever it looks like for you guys, the flexibility is really key. The typical day for a homeopath, it's going to depend whatever your practice looks like. But essentially, with the role of the homeopath, you will need to take a case, then you will need to look in your books, you will need to use your online software if you have it, find the remedy, you're going to prescribe to it, send it out, book in a follow-up, then they come back. That's the essence of the homeopathic practice in whatever way you decide to roll it out. With the average income, completely dependent, as we said. If you're working a little bit part-time at night, you know, around your kids and family, it's going to be less than somebody who's working full-time. If you are doing online courses and containers, a lot of the time that is going to exponentially increase, because you could record, for example, if you do little first aid things for your community and then you sell it for, you know, $50, for example, to watch this course, you could send that out to 500 people. So there's just really different ways in business that you get to decide what that looks like for you. Is this a job for the future? In regards to AI, it's something that is creeping out a lot of people. And to be honest, I have recently been putting ChatGPT to the test just to see how much does it know about homeopathic medicine. So if you guys wanted to trial this, you can type into ChatGPT and say, what does the carcinosin man present like? And it gives you this big long spiel, and it is quite bang on, really, considering. I'd say about 90% accurate, but it will never understand the nuances of the people in front of you. It takes the skill of a homeopath to locate the disease point of entry, the never well since. No individual could ever give their whole case to ChatGPT and have it actually spit back what I believe the homeopath can individualize. We have to tailor it to the person. We have to be able to up the potency. We have to be able to shift things around to get our breakthroughs and complete healing, that curative element at the real core. And there's also something to be said for the human element. We are energetic beings. When we sit together in a consult and we hear someone's story, this link between us, this quantum entanglement, that is a healing factor that AI could never replicate. So there are some homeopaths who might have, you know, on their web page, like a little chat bot, for example, and you could put in your really simple symptoms and say, hey, I've got a cold, my throat's really sore, it's like mainly left-sided, da-da-da. You could put in your cute little symptoms and you may well get a good remedy spat back at you. So maybe you could use it for those sorts of little things in between, but AI will never be able to replicate the human-to-human contact required to be a successful homeopath. But it is with the software making it easier for homeopaths to find the right information, to navigate through. Because if you look at our homeopathic textbooks, guys, a lot of them are damn huge. And when you're looking for a really intricate little symptom, someone tells you, okay, I had one symptom the other day a student was going through, and their client had severe constipation, a child. But one thing that they noticed is that the child got violent in that, you know, lead up that 10 minutes before passing the stool. Now that in homeopathy is something we call a PQRS. It's this rare little symptom which points us towards the correct remedy to prescribe. Now with the, you know, advancement of technology and our online software, it is much easier to find the remedy indicated, which is count carb. The student gave it to the patient, completely resolved the violence before that stool. So this is where I'm not against technology, but I'll always keep my hardcover books just in case all of that implodes. But even so, we will never be replaced. So Remedy Academy, we have a highly skilled and experienced team. You get to learn from us. You get to watch Peter, Jean, and I take cases. We also have a brilliant tutor team, some of which are Kim Parry, Katie Ballantyne, Janie Lavelle, Jan Blair from the UK. I think that's all of us. Yes, they are absolutely brilliant. So we all come with a wealth of knowledge from around the world, all different tips and tricks. And I want you guys to learn from each of us. On top of that, you have some of the greatest guest lecturers in the world. So Hilary Dorian is a favorite. She teaches the bowel nosodes, looking at the bowel flora. She teaches the matrodonas, endocrine sarcodes. Jeff Johnson teaches all about vet homeopathics. The students loved that recently. Sarah Valentini, who does really big modules on complex children. So if you're looking at autism, ASD, PANS, PANDAS, ADHD, this is really critical. Sarah teaches to that. You guys just learn from the best. Community and connection. There is nothing like the Remedy community. I can say that like quite strongly. We would be the biggest community, biggest homeopathic community in the world, the most tight-knit, the most supportive. You guys get to join those ranks if you study with us. And what's so beautiful even is our current students, you know, when we asked if they would be interested in mentoring and supporting the new students coming in September 2026, they were lit up. They are so open-armed with each other even, you know, supporting each other. They've got their tutorial groups, but these guys are having their own little meetups. They're creating their own, you know, little networks, and it's the most beautiful thing to see. Jean, tell us about your experience with community and homeopathy.
It comes from something called communities of practice. And what it is we've put in so many different layers of communication. So you're communicating with us, you know, and that's through our lectures. We have drop-ins, we have tutorial groups, and we've made sure that no tutorial group is more than about 32 people. And that's where you do some learning about, you know, that's where you bring your questions from the lectures as well, and we expand and we discuss things. Then you have your, you know, we get you into smaller groups for certain activities, and you form bonds within that. You know, we have these meetups across the world, and you form bonds with that. And so it is so multi-layered, and so, well, it's brilliant the way that the students have just come together. And you know, they are the most amazing, as Mel said, the most giving, the most loving group of students you could ever imagine.
And we have no doubt that your cohort will be exactly the same, guys, because I feel that in this time in the world currently, people are being drawn to homeopathy, people who want to see us absolutely thrive. And so there is no competition, not at all, between students at all. Peter?
I don't know what to brag, but we are the world's largest homeopathic education provider from the get-go. We started in September 2024 with 570 students. No other homeopathic education facility in the world is as big as us. So we're the big gorilla. Come on board.
Yeah, I love that. Big gorilla. All right.
But I would say that even though we are big, we are personal. We're about the individual as well as the collective. So nobody is ever lost in the group. You know, you know, we see you know, we don't just see a group of people.
One of the outstanding facilities that we have is pastoral care for our students as professionals. Now, they are undergraduates and in training, but having to listen to some sad stories, some trauma, patients, it's quite heart-rending. And for novice practitioners, junior students, this is quite disturbing sometimes. So we step out and we provide pastoral care for our students so that they learn early how to look after themselves so that they are safe and competent and don't burn out into their future. They're just starting out. So we hold their hand and help them through whatever they hear about to last as long as we have. You know, Jean and I have been doing this for decades and we're still going.
It is definitely, guys. You're going to be exposed to things in homeopathic practice that you know, it's just, it can be really shocking. It can really hurt your heart. It can be really heavy. Yeah, obviously I've been in and around our student cases recently, listening to just hundreds of cases from the general public, and the amount of trauma that we are collectively experiencing and have experienced, it's just, it's a lot. And so it is really important that we, yes, have that pastoral care. Engaging learning environment. Our teaching style is dynamic, it's interactive, and it's designed to spark curiosity so that you feel supported, inspired, and never alone. So the feedback that we get from our students is the way that we teach is so engaging that it does not even feel like, you know, formal study. It is like I'm hanging out with friends, listening to a conversation. So Peter, Jean, and I are in every lecture that we put forward for Remedy Academy materials. When we are talking about a remedy, let's say we're talking about Ignatia, it is always the three of us in that lecture, and we're telling our own unique stories from practice about, oh, this Ignatia patient that I saw, this is da, 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 da. And so us having our, you know, little banter and our friendship in the course, really, it's one of the things that students have loved the most. So I love that. So what does the Remedy experience actually look like with releasing your course content each week? So each week on a Monday, we release your course content. So you'll have multiple sessions to view. So you might have a lecture about, you know, what is homeopathic pharmacy? And it'll explain all about that. There might be a 1 hour lecture. Then you might have a lecture about materia medica, and it might be, okay, this week we are looking at the remedy NatMer and all about NatMer. Then you might also have that week a case that Peter, Jean, and I have taken together. Maybe it's a gentleman with profound eczema on his legs that blew up since his dad died. And then you watch us take his case. It's usually like 90 minutes that we spend. And then you see Peter, Jean, and I discussing, okay, what remedy is going to fit this patient the most? You see us, you know, send that off to him, and then you see our follow-up in later week's content. So you have each week the release of those things on a Monday to start getting through. But it's up to you when you would like to watch it. This is the flexibility factor. If you have kids and you just want to wait until they go to bed at night, you can watch it at 8 o'clock at night. If your kids are at school and you want to watch it in the middle of the day, you can do that whenever you like. Then we also have, yes, so this is our apprenticeship style. So I'll let Peter speak to this. What do we mean by this is more of an apprenticeship style? How is this different to the more didactic learning, Peter?
Sure. In the past, it was called Industrial Revolution education. You were trained in a skill. You were told this is all you need to know. Go out and do it. Well, what we're doing is more engaging. You are seeing from trimester 1, Jean, Melissa, and I take a case, recorded live online, and you get to see, well, this is how these folk do it. We've been doing it for a good while. We know what we're doing. We have patients who volunteer to be our clients, and it's exactly what happens in the real world when I'm doing a private case, or Jean or Melissa are doing a private case. The analysis is recorded, and so students get to see what we do, and they copy us. That's an apprenticeship style. And so recently in trimester 3, students have started taking their own cases, and we've tutored them, we've kitted them out, we've resourced them, we've trained them. They know what they're doing, and they are doing it. And even if they have no background in health or medicine, they might have been a housewife with 3 kids prior to doing this, they are doing immensely incredible work. We are seeing fabulous movement forward in our clients. Melissa said more than 90% of our clients are having extremely good outcomes. 10% are yet to make forward movement in the consultations we've had so far in the last trimester. So we're getting greater than a 90% success rate with clients with all sorts of different problems. So they're copying us, and doing what we do is proving to be exceedingly successful. Now, we've got students who already have qualifications in health or healing as well. They might be a naturopath, they might be a nurse, they even might be a pharmacist or a medical doctor. And they are exceedingly successful as well. Everyone is moving forward. And we feel that this spiral curriculum, we revisit issues again and again, plus this ongoing clinical support, role modeled by us and facilitated by us, supervising our students and helping each other. The students help each other in their triads and their tutorials, is exceedingly successful. This is modern education. This is what we call practitioner competencies, where students put together a portfolio to show their competence, and that's the assessment. No exams, no assignments. It's just a portfolio, 10 cases with at least 2 follow-ups. You graduate.
Love that. So guys, obviously I've got the flexibility factor there, but also how much work are you actually expected to do a week? We ask about 10 hours per week. Now, sometimes students might get behind a couple of weeks, and that is okay, but they will catch up. We know that you guys, sometimes maybe you're on school holidays and you just cannot catch a break to get through your course content. And you're like, all right, I'm just going to do it in 2 weeks. That is absolutely fine. But yes, if anybody, starts to fall too far behind, that's when we step in and say, hey, is everything going all right? So lectures are released on Mondays via the online learning portal. You guys have your private portal. It's called Thinkific, and that's where you log in. It's all just gorgeous, and it shows exactly where you're up to. All right, what's next? Now, to unlock each week's new content, you will actually do a little multiple choice 10 question quiz. So whilst we don't do specific exams, alongside your portfolio that you submit at the end, you also do the quizzes to unlock. And what that shows us is that you have watched the course content, because if you haven't, you would not know which bowel nosode is most indicated for this sort of eczema, for example. So that's how we just keep you accountable to make sure that you are watching all of the course content. So we also have 2 live drop-in sessions a week. So when you guys start in 2026, you will have me live for 4 hours a week. They're split up into 2 separate 2-hour, things. And this is where our students come and they just ask, random questions. They might say, hey, hypothetically, if we had a case like this, what would you do? Or they say, hey, I'm looking for this symptom in the textbooks. Can you help me find it? It's completely just random questions, but we are there live because we know, although everyone wants the flexibility, right, of doing their course content when they can, it is also so nice just to have live access to a real human being and ask them in that moment. So that's what's really nice about the drop-ins. Then we also have your structured tutorials. That is 2 hours. Now, for your intake, it is not going to be mandatory that you attend those, because you guys are signing off with a mentor. So we know that you are getting that touch point of personal time. In regards to who can be your homeopathic mentor, we are going to have a list of probably hundreds of them that you can choose from and look through. And I'll get to it in a second, but they're all different price points. And if you already have a homeopath, a couple of people have asked, I've got this amazing homeopath in this little rural town where I live, and I would love for them to be my mentor and do cases with them. Can they be? If they just submit a form to us to show that they are a fully qualified homeopath, absolutely, they can sign off on your cases, but we just need to go through and approve that to make sure that they are legitimately qualified. So, the time commitment, is it manageable for someone with a newborn, stay-at-home mum with kids? Yes. And we often have in our tutorials, don't we, Peter and Jean, mums with a little bub, maybe they're breastfeeding while they're talking to us about a case. Maybe the kids are popping in and the mum say, oh, I'm sorry, the kids are da-da-da. And everybody just says, it's so fine. We realize that you are doing life alongside. And in putting this curriculum out into the world, we knew it had to be this way. It has to be flexible to fit in with people. That's just the future of education. We don't have to pretend that we don't have families and other commitments, because we all do. Very few of our students, we've only got 2 18-year-old students who maybe live at home and don't have all of the pressures of, a family or a job, but the great majority do. So we really do understand that. It is relatively self-paced, but you can't fall too far behind. If you fall more than 4 weeks behind, you're going to have us checking in with you, trying to get you up to speed, find out if there's anything we can do to support. Is there a way to fast track the course quicker than 2 years? There isn't. And it's something that I asked Jean in the beginning when we were forming a curriculum. How long does it need to be? And really, 2 years is the minimum to allow you the time to integrate all of the knowledge and wisdom that you are being exposed to. Sure, somebody might have time off and they think, right, I could fly through this. I could just smash this curriculum out in like 6 months. The reality is you would not graduate as integrated and ready to practice. It just would not have that time to mature all of those thoughts. So 2 years is how we keep it, Peter.
It takes about 2 years for your thinking to change, because if thinking holistically, thinking dynamically is novel and new, and you never did that before because you've been trained to think about health by doctors and the conventional Western medical system, this is different. And it might take you that long to change your paradigm view, because we have this helicopter view, this holistic view. Well, what's going on overall? And why might it be so? What is the reason for this disease? Rather than symptomatic management on a mechanistic way, we think big. Why is it so? And everything that is potentially relevant, psychological, physical, circumstantial, diet and lifestyle, all of these factors come together for us to make sense of things. And that takes a while to change. Now, Jean will also tell you that our 42-week academic year with at least 10 hours per week is equivalent to approximately a 3-year university bachelor degree with holidays. We don't have long holidays, so that's why in 2 years we do 3 years of material. So it's equivalent to a 3-year bachelor degree done in 2 years. We're not calling it a bachelor. We have to stay away from certain words to do with the Australian qualifications framework and being misunderstood. We are in the private sector. We have nothing to do with governments or universities or recognized training organizations as well. We are an independent education provider, and we have been recognized by our own profession. We're recognized by at least the Australian Traditional Medicine Society, for example.
Brilliant. With our assessments, so it is your portfolio that ultimately you submit to us that we look at and then we sign off. Yes, you are fully ready to be a homeopath. You are now certified and accredited with different bodies. So no formal written exams or assignments. It is just your portfolio. Now, your portfolio contains 10 cases that you have personally taken. Now, a lot of these you will find yourself. You might know somebody whose child is struggling with eczema or asthma or something like that. That is a case that you can take. If you're struggling to find people in your real world, I have many, many people that I can refer to Remedy Academy. There are thousands of people desperate for help. So Remedy Academy can definitely support you in finding people, but we definitely encourage you to also look locally, because this is where you build your network. Once you graduate, these people that you've helped throughout your 10 portfolios, they're probably off talking to other people. Hey, I saw this woman for my anxiety or depression and it really helped. You should go see her. It's very easy to build a successful homeopathic practice when you've been trained well to get results, which all of our students, like Peter said, 90% of them so far in their first case have had profound shifts. That is incredible. That is incredible. And to be honest, it's a testament to how they have learned and what they have absorbed that they're getting that. So you submit your portfolio with those 10 initial cases and 2 follow-ups for each one. Now, it's totally okay if you submit in that portfolio as well, cases where I gave this remedy and nothing happened. They came back, and then you show us your first follow-up where you started to think, all right, what else have I missed? What else could I incorporate in? We do not expect you to submit 10 breakthrough cases where you cured their issues. We want to see that you understand how to take a case, how to repertorize. You're just showing us the process of being a homeopath. So no pressure on that. If there are any of you who are wondering, can I actually do this? Like, would I actually be smart enough or have what it takes? I want to assure you that out of the 570 people in our course, many of them are people who never did well at school. They actually worried about themselves studying because they thought, I am just not somebody made for formal study. And the feedback that we have gotten from them in regards to the way that they are absorbing this information, it has not been a problem for one student. Not one student out of the 570 has said, I'm having trouble learning or staying on track. So that is, that speaks for itself. We've got tradies, we've got people who've never been academic at all, but you do not need to be an academic to absorb information about homeopathy. Clinical hours, this is just you doing your mentoring program, which we'll get onto in a second. Yes, you get to sit in with graduate homeopaths. That's you guys within the course container, watching myself take a case, watching Peter take a case, Jean take a case, Kim Parry, Jan Blair. You're exposed to lots of different practitioners taking cases because we all do it differently. And you guys are going to find this in the big world of homeopathy. You're going to find many homeopaths disagree about how things should be done around the world. I want you to see within this container, there are many different ways to be successful, and you get to choose which way you think is most effective for you and the patients that you see. Associations and accreditation. I'll let Peter speak to this because actually Jean and Peter have a history. Jean's been big in the Society of Homeopaths, ethics boards, regulating bodies. Peter has been the president of the ATMS. He was for a very long time. So Peter, tell me about associations. Are they critical to be a part of? Tell us about them.
I sat on the board of directors of the Australian Traditional Medicine Society for 18 years. In the last 7 years, I was their president. I only stepped down because of the Constitution saying there's a limit of term. What associations are good for is helping graduates in their professional life, supporting continuing professional education, encouraging them to keep their first aid certificate, and keeping them ethical, because they have a complaints committee. So if you remember and someone perceives a problem, they have recourse to making a complaint. And that's all well and good. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Private practitioners in Australia are not statutory registered. You can do what you like. And if you do muck up, the government will be hot on your tail and prosecute you. So at the moment, the natural medicine profession in Australia is self-regulated. Homeopathy in particular, it's likely to be the very last modality ever to get statutory registration. There's been a whole lot of politics and economic issues. And so, no, it's highly unlikely homeopathy would be statutory registered in Australia. We are not dangerous. We don't have adverse drug reactions, and we definitely don't kill people. So we're not dangerous enough to be statutory registered. Now, there are modalities that are statutory registered, like doctors, dentists, osteopaths, chiropractors, and even acupuncturists. They are deemed potentially dangerous enough that the Australian public need protection from. And so they have this whole thing called allied health, and the public are protected. But homeopaths, we are low risk. There might be some complaints about financial issues and cards and so forth, but nothing as terrible as adverse drug reactions. So we don't feel the absolute necessity to have to encourage our members to join a professional association. We are recognized by the Australian Traditional Medicine Society. They have accredited the RMDY Academy of Homeopathy as an accredited education provider, and our program, our Advanced Practitioner of Homeopathy, is a recognized program. So we have got professional accreditation. We are a legitimate course, right? Our colleagues in our profession say so. Has this got anything to do with the Australian government? No, we don't want to have anything to do with the Australian government. The Australian government is not our friend, I'm sorry to say. So we are going it alone, and we are highly successful without them. When they used to have anything to do with anything, it was not good. So
yeah,
we may have our own association in the future, the Remedy Collective. When we get our first cohort of graduates in September 2026, we may decide, well, why don't we have our own association and support our graduates into their ongoing professional career?
So I've always been open, guys, that I personally prefer to not be with any association. I'm not a member of any of them, Arrow, ATMS, AHA, and I have built an extremely successful practice, and I've never had any troubles. No one has ever asked me, oh, who are you a member with? No one has honestly ever asked me even what my qualifications are. It is that usually word of mouth, like this woman helped me, go and see her, she'll help you. So you do not have to be, but I do remember when I was a student and I was stepping out into practice and I wasn't as confident as I am now. I was a student member of the ATMS and the AHA. I was a professional member of the ATMS for a few years, but then I was like, I don't really feel that I need this. And so I just went out on my own, and that is absolutely okay. We'll support you guys whichever way you would like to go. Jean?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I am a member of both the Society of Homeopaths and HINT, which is the International Homeopaths in the UK. However, we do need, and you can get insurance as a member of Remedy. You know, if you graduate from Remedy Academy and you choose not to go to one of the registering bodies, you absolutely can get insurance to practice.
Brilliant. And just the last thing, in regards to like government things, you guys might see that there are some people out there who are really pushing for, they want homeopathy registered. They want to be recognized. We want to be on par with doctors and respected for, to be honest, the absolutely insanely amazing work that we do. And I understand the sentiment for myself personally that my concerns with that are what I witnessed in Australia with registered bodies, you know, say, for example, APRA. So our acupuncturists in Australia, I think even nutritionists, if you did not get vaccinated, you could not practice. That is, of course, alarming with mandates. I'm in a hotel lobby, don't know who's listening. But, you know, I do not like to see you know, heavy hands come down. So I prefer to do our good work, to be accountable, be good to our patients, and not worry about looking for any external validation about what I am doing. And I think the world is going to completely shift, you know, to recognize that. So not an issue there. What happens if I live in one of the very few areas where homeopathy is regulated? There are 3 states in the US, for example, Nevada, Connecticut, and Arizona, where they have additional, you know, levels that they want homeopaths. So in one of them, for example, they would like you to either be a medical doctor or an osteopath in order to practice homeopathy. It's rare, you know, those sorts of areas, and the homeopaths in that area have often found sort of a workaround for it. So they might not advertise as a homeopath, they might just be a health coach, and they might just give, you know, vague recommendations. Jean?
And of course, Canada as well. I think there's one area of Canada, isn't there, where you have to be qualified in a certain particular way in order to become a homeopath.
Yeah, but
And
largely, oh yeah, Peter?
And some European countries. I think it's Belgium and France. You may have to be a medical doctor first before you can then practice homeopathy. And I mean, just out of interest, in Brazil, there are 15,000 homeopathic doctors. In India, there are 200,000 homeopathic doctors. 14% of all Indian hospital beds are homeopathic hospital beds. In the United Kingdom, there are 4 homeopathic hospitals, and the National Health Service with doctors can provide service to doctors who are homeopaths paid for by the NHS in the UK.
Love that. So if it is in your area, guys, we would recommend reach out to the homeopaths in your area, find out what do they do, how do they practice, and there's, you know, different organizations you can reach out to just to find out specifically. So in Australia and the UK, we have no issues. We can just fly under the radar and do our thing. But in America, NASH is likely one to look out for to find out those rules. So we are with the ATMS. We are also with IICT. IICT is international. ATMS is going international. We also have currently in the works, working towards other ones, things like Arrow, AHA, but none of that, and even with NASH, but that is not something that we are, you know, saying and confirming 100%, you know, it's that they are working with us. They are approaching us and saying, how can we work to get the course in with Arrow? But it's not something, and I've been very open with students from the start. Our 570 students, they signed up when we were not even with the ATMS and the IICT. We promised that we would be committed to the highest level of, you know, homeopathic education. We are not needing to be jumping through hoops of other associations. However, we also understand that sometimes for students that can be helpful, and we will absolutely engage in that process. But that's not something that I put at the top of our priority list, and something that we promise students. We just go with the flow. And as these accreditation, you know, things come on board, we let you guys know, okay, we're now with this. But yes, that's where we're at. The other thing is in regards to the naming of like advanced diploma. So in our Remedy Academy, we are the advanced practitioners of homeopathy. That is your qualification. You will graduate with an APH. a few people might ask, oh, is this like an advanced diploma? Is this the level of an advanced diploma? It's sort of beyond an advanced diploma, as we said previously, with the amount of hours that we actually do, but it's really important, the terminology. So you might have seen in Australia recently, there was a main course, Switched on Health, run by Martin Stone, beautiful, beautiful man. And they've recently changed the name of it. It is no longer called an advanced diploma. And it's, even though it is the same course content that he is putting out, the name, it's all in the name. We cannot use those terms because they are reserved for vet qualifications. There are no RTOs that offer homeopathy. You cannot put any homeopathic qualifications against, for example, your HELP or HEXTET. When I was studying, I was allowed to put my $70,000 worth of education onto a government loan. They wiped homeopathy from those structures. And I would say it was a political move to try and stop training of homeopaths because we are the threat that we know we are, and they want to make it more difficult. So just with the terminology of the advanced diploma, don't get hung up on that. You're going to see that people are going to not be using that term when it comes to homeopathy. It's changing because we cannot use that. So there's that. Students who study with us will automatically be members of the Remedy Collective Association. We fund homeopathic podcasts, the Woodford Folk Festival for the free homeopathic clinic, and our intention is to open homeopathic clinics with a strong focus on clinical training. We know that it's not just the 2 years that you study with us, it's everything that you're exposed to even after that in clinic, and we want to continue that support. So we have our first centre being built currently in Springfield, Brisbane, Australia, with the hopes to open many, many more. Health funds. Will I be able to open a clinic upon completion? Absolutely. You'll sort of already have the wheels turning. We would say by graduation, we'd love you guys to have a website, maybe have some business cards, get your Instagram, your social media things going. Hit the ground running when you graduate if you want to. We'll be there for the process, and you'll be around students who are also doing the same things. Start to put out as you're learning, like a lot of our students have their accounts now, put out what you're learning, start to engage your local community, talk about what is generational trauma, how can homeopathy help, because you're going to start to generate a lot of interest ready, you know, that network. Will homeopathy ever be registered? We do not believe so. We're far too safe. And frankly, it's very awkward for the Australian government to go from saying it's complete placebo, homeopathy does nothing, to flipping and then all of a sudden saying, actually, no, it's so dangerous. We need to regulate it. You can see how they're very conflicting. So we don't believe that they are far, you know, that they're close to doing that really in the foreseeable future. Will homeopathy ever be put back on private health funds for client rebates? Possibly. In Australia recently, they had a big swing back and they put back on to health rebates, naturopaths. Peter, who else did they put back on?
There were 7 modalities. The leading ones were the naturopaths and the herbalists, and a number of manual body therapists like shiatsu. But there were 16 modalities bumped off in April 2019. 7 of them got back, but not homeopathy. We are too successful, and we are too much of a threat, a genuine worldwide threat to the existing pharmaceutical industry, and they have the money to make the political difference that unfortunately makes scientists and politicians bent.
Brilliant. Also, guys, in regards to health rebates, I've never, you know, I didn't practice homeopathy in the time of health rebates. No one has ever even asked me. They are happy to invest the money into their consults because they actually get results. So it is not a negative. You know, Peter was practicing when there was health rebates and after. To be honest, after, when there's no health rebates, you're probably thriving in practice far more than ever before. And that is coming from the general population's interest in homeopathy. It is exploding. Peter could be booked out probably for a year in advance if he wanted to keep his books open that long. It is outrageous where we are at. So with this last question, do you think Australian healthcare will look into homeopathy in the next 5 to 10 years? It doesn't really matter what, you know, the Australian healthcare system does, what the world, you know, healthcare system does, because the people are demanding it and the people are seeking it out. So whether the government wants to come on board and acknowledge, hey, yes, we have overlooked this incredible modality for the last however many decades. In fact, we have very corruptly suppressed it and we're sorry. Whether that actually comes to fruition doesn't matter to me. People will find you and we're going to tip the scales in favor of holistic health that actually works. All right, books, software, and supplies. What books do you recommend we start reading? Impossible Cure, my #1 favorite read, written by Amy Lansky, PhD. She was a NASA researcher. Her beautiful boy got diagnosed with autism, and she details the healing journey of that. But it's not just her personal testimony, it's all of the information she puts forward about what homeopathy is, the history of homeopathy, a lot of it. So I would definitely read that book. Are certain textbooks or software required? So you can choose if you want to go with the hard copy books, if you want to buy your Materia Medica and your repertories. We recommend the online Radar Opus software. It just fast tracks, you know, your repertorizing skills. You can find all of the nuanced little symptoms that you're looking for. Absolutely brilliant, but we'll let you do whichever one you prefer. And the cost of that, it is an investment of about $500. That $500 will allow you for your 2 years studying with Remedy to have open access to every text that they have on there. So I think it's like $15,000 worth of, you know, books and materials, if not more. It might even be more than that. Because to be honest, homeopathic books are expensive. They can be in the hundreds of dollars, some of them, especially your decent big ones like repertories and Materia Medicas. So by getting that $500 package, it really is beneficial. At the end of 2 years, you will still have that very basic, it goes back to a more basic package, the $500 one, and you will then have to pay to get forever the books that you want to use. What I like about this is that, say, for example, there is 2 repertories that we swing in between a lot in our work. We go through Murphy's, Robin Murphy's, and then Adonis, Stroyan's Adonis. And so you guys at the end then get to choose, all right, which books do I actually use the most? Which books do I actually want to have in my collection? And then you'll pay for them separately. You might pay a couple of $100 to update that. It really depends on how many more you're going to add to your collection. So that is how that works. But once you buy it, it's not a subscription thing. It's you own that forever once you've bought them. Yes, we'll put you in contact with suppliers. And how much should we allow to start our own dispensary and purchase Remedy supplies? So it's very financially an advantage for homeopaths to own their own dispensary and send their own remedies out. It's because frequency travels so far when you are dispensing at home and grafting it across. So when I first started, I invested in an $800 LM dispensary, and I bought about 40 different remedies, and that's what I was using originally. As many of you would know, if you follow my Instagram, I've now got a serious problem with buying all the remedies from all around the world, and I love having all of the different potencies. And you'll find in our academy, we talk about potency and posology very differently. We teach about the homochords, the power of them, the science behind them, and you see the results of them a lot. So for that reason, anyway, I own it and I dispense that. With homeopathy, you can buy from the pharmacy, say, a $20 bottle of remedies, of stock rather, and from that bottle, you can then go forward and make perhaps 100 new bottles for your patients. And you would charge your patients per remedy. So most patients pay $25 per remedy for a small bottle. So you are making back the money from your dispensary very quickly if you dispense in this way. So we highly recommend. If you don't want to do that as a student, you can just go through the pharmacies. You would send them their prescriptions and then they would send it to your patients. So you don't need to outlay from the start if you don't want to. There is not a cap on enrollments at this point. What is the enrollment deadline? That is July 31 next year, if you would like to join this cohort. However, because we have the AMP, now the anatomy and physiology component, we are integrating into your next cohort. In the current cohort, they all had to have their own certification signed off. A lot of them, you know, they have a health background, they're naturopaths, nurses, doctors, and we are able to certify that, yes, they know anatomy and physiology. In the next round, we are having that as something else that you can tick off. It's a brilliant course. It's by a woman named Michelle. She taught at Endeavour College, and she taught me alongside Peter nearly 15 years ago. She is absolutely brilliant. AMP, if you are taught in a lackluster way, can be boring. So we have definitely in this course got you the best, you know, to keep it engaging, but we want you to graduate with the depth of knowledge. So she teaches it not in the old school mechanistic way, but from a more modern. You'll see her weave in all of the energetics around it and little tidbits about homeopathy a little bit as well. So really, really profound there. No prerequisites for this course. You can come straight out of school. You could be 50 years old, looking for a new career. Our oldest students currently are 68 years old, and they could still have a thriving 20, 30-year practice ahead of them. So no prerequisites at all. Come as you are. You'll do the AMP. Don't have to have a medical background at all. And then with the anatomy and physiology, that is going to be unlocked for you. Here we go. Anatomy and physiology. We are now pleased to offer a full comprehensive AMP course within the Remedy Academy. Now, when you officially sign up to your course and do your first course payment, whether you're paying by the installments, you know, over the 2 years, or whether you're doing the reduced price up front, you will then have the access to the AMP. Now, that is a $79 buy-in for that, and you just get full access to it. So that's 52 hours of content. So if you start that next January 2026, you could complete those 52 hours, have all of those little quizzes signed off, ready for September 2026, then you would only be focusing on your homeopathic content. But it is also absolutely fine if you just want to start all of it in September 2026, and you would just weave that 52 hours in alongside your course content. So that's completely up to you. But I know a lot of people are so eager to just get their teeth into it. I would recommend doing your anatomy and physiology first. So that is that. If you cannot wait to get started, you want to get a taste of what is Remedy Academy like. You want to meet some of our lecturers, you know, Kim, Jan, myself, Peter, Jean, and the way that we present information, Sarah Valentini, Dr. Isaac Golden. What I would recommend doing is signing up to our Welcome to the Revolution, Ignite the Change course. This is currently, I can see there, $449 on our website. Now that would be deducted. If you decide that you want to study with Remedy Academy after watching that, you would get that price deducted from your course fees in 2026. So it's essentially free if you know that you're committed to study, but it also gives you something to get you stirred up and excited. Bear in mind, it comes with a warning. If you do it, the great majority of people are just sold then on homeopathy as a career because they just see the magic unleashed and what it can do. So that is an option for you guys as well. Then we would ask you just send your order confirmation to accounts@remedycollective.com once you've signed your enrollment contract. So that would probably be, I mean, people are signing some of their contracts now for 2026, but whenever you do that, you would send that through so it's deducted from your course invoice. Miscellaneous questions. Now, you guys are finding external mentors to sign off on your cases. Now, the costs of that, some of them are as low as $500 for the whole package to sign off on your 30 cases. It depends on the homeopath. Some of them just love doing it and want to give back, but we will give you a whole range of people you can look through. You can look at the different price points. If you want a homeopath who maybe has been practicing professionally, and they will probably be more expensive. They, you know, might be upwards of $100 an hour. You might be investing, you know, couple of $1,000 in doing your mentorship things. Personally, if you have the money, a lot of people want to do it. When I first graduated, I would pay Peter $50 an hour to go through my cases with me. And it was honestly invaluable. That's how I got to be quite a good practitioner, in my opinion, quite quickly compared to people who are, you know, sometimes we graduate from a course and we feel like Bambi, right? We're real nervous. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. What if I take on this big case and it's too big for me? I had Peter in my back pocket. I would call him up and say, hey, I've got this case. Could we work on it together? So I would still be charging my patients for the consult, and then I would be passing on a little bit of that fee to Peter to make sure that I'm getting all of my skills down pat. It's something you guys might consider. So the price points really vary, but if you know you are looking for something moderately financially, as little as $500, you will find a mentor to sign off on your 30 cases. This is something that a lot of the homeopathic education places do. They do not sign off on your cases. They ask you to go external, and it is an out-of-pocket expense, but we will make sure that you've got access to the mentors in your price range. You do not need to travel to Remedy Academy for training at all. If you live in Austria, I know we've got a potential student who's joining us today from Austria. You will never need to travel to Australia or be in person for anything. You can be fully certified through your online and face-to-face interactions there via Zoom. The business side is definitely taught. It's critical. There are so many different styles of homeopathy. Which one will you teach? Peter, I'll let you take that one.
We know that the gold standard is called Hahnemannian homeopathy. It's somewhat also known as classical homeopathy. That was a word termed by George Vathilkis, but Hahnemannian homeopathy is our foundation, and particularly ensconced in Hahnemann's Organon of Medicine, the 6th edition. Now, we know that that is highly successful, but not 100%. So there are a time and a place for pragmatism and compromise. So we bring in a touch of that as well. Now, what's that called? It's called modern homeopathy. That's where we use organopathy, gemotherapy, batch flower remedies, isodes, nosodes, Narayani remedies, etc., etc. Now, the course is not based on modern homeopathy. That's an extension above and beyond when things don't go well with classical homeopathy. So almost always Hahnemannian homeopathy with a touch of modern on an as-need pragmatic way.
Love that. And Jean said something when we were designing the course, and it was, we need to teach them all of the firm foundations. That's like the car. But where you go with it, where you drive off when you graduate, that's up to you. There are different methodologies, whether it's Sankarans, using Jan Scholtens. There's different ways, but we teach you the hardest things, and then you can go on and decide which other flavors you would like to practice as. This is why we are so diverse, you know, as a profession. We do it all quite differently. Where you go is up to you, but the Hahnemannian homeopathy, seeing somebody as the whole, that is the hardest thing to do. That's what we need to make sure you know how to do before you step out into the world of practice, so that you can always come back to looking at the totality, finding that one remedy that will reflect the entire vital force of somebody. Various payment plans. Yes, I'm not going to go through those, guys, but they're all on our website, remedyacademy.org. You can look at the different options there for what suits you. This is our calendar, our 6 trimesters. We have a big graduation, the end of 2028. We have 400, I think, coming from around the world for our graduation. It's going to be historic for our 2026. Graduation 2028, I'm sure, will be no less. It's a massive celebration. We have homeopaths even coming from around the world to celebrate you guys. We also have a remedy conference that we run in 2026. So hypothetically, if you guys wanted to be amongst the conference, the graduating students of 2026, and see exactly what it's like, you would be welcome to attend that 2.5-day, 3-day conference in November 2026. It is very fun. All right, we're at the end. Let me open up the chat and check for some other questions. Now, I did have one, which was, oh, someone asked a question. How was Remedy Academy initiated? You know, how was it born? How many years have you been practicing? How many years has it been running? Our current cohort is our first, our most successful. So this is our current first. So by the time you guys get here, we've been running for 2 years. How was it initiated? It was by demand, to be honest. It was, yeah, people just wanted it. I was doing a little short course for mainly practitioners who were largely naturopaths, acupuncturists, nurses. I wanted to give them a little bit of homeopathy to give their practice oomph. From that, it just escalated. People became obsessed with the way that we teach, and it really was, wasn't it, Peter? That's where it was born out of. When I stepped into practice, this was nothing I would ever have considered doing, but I will say, okay, Peter is an absolute wizard. He knows the ins and outs of materia medica more than anyone else that I've ever known. And it is like a Samuel Hahnemann level of like bringing it in. It's really magic, and students love that. Jean, amazing with the materia medica. She has been around the block. She has governed so many curriculums, the rollouts, whether it's masters, bachelors. It's like when I ask these two anything, I just feel like they know everything that I could ever ask. They know every book that's written, every perspective, who's disagreed with who. Peter, are you going to say something?
Oh, yes. Well, after I was assisting Melissa with some of these 12-module short courses we ran out of Australia, and we were pondering, oh, should we do some more short courses? What should we do? And I introduced Melissa to Jean. They met up via Zoom, and it was Jean. Jean gets the blame. Jean said, go big. So instead of doing another 12-week course, we decided we'll put on a 2-year course. Thank you, Jean.
And it is, we just wanted people to have all of the knowledge that they would need. So 2 years really was what we needed for that. So yes, Jean and Peter come with their incredible, between them, nearly 70 years of homeopathic education, practice, clinical observation, looking after students and teaching all of that. For me, I'm the newbie, I'm the baby, but I will say that I am very good at taking complex concepts and making it really digestible, really simple, keeping it really practical, and making sure that none of our students get lost in the depth of the homeopathic magic. So that's where I really thrive. And obviously the business sense. I think I help give students the confidence to think, hey, I can actually do this. And it is. And I just see that reflected in our students anyway. So that's that. Is it possible to get any credits for prior study? I've been studying with the School of Homeopathy. Unfortunately, because we have a spiral curriculum, there are no modules that we would be able to give RPL for, because ours is all woven together. It's not like someone can say, oh, I've done a whole year. We actually have students who come to us we've got students from the School of Homeopathy, and they had already done, quite a lot there, but they came here. We actually cannot do any RPL, I'm sorry. The same goes for, we've got students who've come from George Fulthukas's classical homeopathic school. I forget what it's called, but yes, I'm sorry, there is no RPL because it's all intertwined. It would be impossible for us to, rework that. With the live sessions, the times of your tutorials, you guys get to choose. So we put out into the world a range of different times, and then depending on your time zone and just your personal calendar and your schedule, you pick which one you can commit to be at each week. Now, remembering that your live sessions for your cohort, they are not mandatory, because you are also working alongside a mentor. We know that you've got a touch point throughout the course to see you face to face. So they would be optional, but also encouraged, because it is really fun. And it's always nice to ask questions live and also see your teammates, all of your colleagues to be. With the payment options, yes, they are on the website, and there is quite a few. If you do email the Academy, if you're struggling to find them or want to see more options, please just email academy@rmdycollective.org. They would be happy to send that through to you. Seeing potential clients online, does it make a difference not being able to see the physical symptoms in person when making a diagnosis? Peter, tell us about that.
Yeah.
What are the limitations? What are the benefits?
Here in Australia, COVID made a big change to how medicine was practiced. Doctors had been waiting for a long time for telehealth, and COVID pushed it forward. There was a big advance for 10 years, and now telehealth, online consulting, is now very normal. And yes, it loses out on the touch aspect, even the spiritual connection aspect, but pragmatically, because it's convenient, there's no road rage, there's no parking issues. You can see anyone around the world, time zones permitting. It's just opened up the world as your potential practice. So yes, there are some trade-offs, but what we do instead is we have a client potentially referred to a local practitioner, a doctor, a naturopath, whatever, for a physical examination, and bring those reports to a consultation or email them through to me, and I can read them. And but I used to teach clinical examination, so it may sound strange, but through cyberspace, I teach parents to do a physical examination on their children. They get a pencil torch, they look in their throat, they put their ear on their chest and listen to their lung sounds. They do abdominal examinations, whatever's necessary. I mean, yes, it's not a professional, but it's sufficient for what we need. It's flying by the seat of our pants, doing the best we can with what we got, and it works, and it's brilliant. And so, although, yes, there are some trade-offs, the convenience and the cost and the accessibility for clients who may be rural and remote, they have, if they've got a decent internet connection, they can get excellent service from a homeopathic practitioner around the world. Now,
Okay,
one more thing I want to say too, for those who have any doubt about the legitimacy of homeopathy, because we have our critics for all the wrong reasons. If you're a royalist, you'll like this idea, because in Australia, we're still part of the Commonwealth. Our king is King Charles III. He is the patron of the British Faculty of Homeopathy. He is also the leader of the Anglican Church, right? So we have some problems with Christians saying, oh, what about homeopathy and, you know, all this sort of other things, let alone its scientific legitimacy. I mean, if you're a Republican, you just can ignore what I just said. But if you are a royalist, you might like to know that the leader of the Anglican Church and the leader of the Commonwealth, King Charles III, is the patron of the Faculty of Homeopathy. These are the doctors in the UK who are homeopaths. There's our legitimacy. So do we need to have Arrow and ATMH? And no, that's enough.
Awesome. And that just reminded me, if you guys, someone said, what's the best book to read to prepare? There's also a documentary, Introducing Homeopathy, that will get you very excited as well. So Introducing Homeopathy, you can find online. They do some funny releases with it. It's not always available, but I feel like it might be available now. It might be a small fee to purchase and watch it. I'd recommend watching that as well. So what are the extra costs? So we went through it, guys. So it is the course itself. That's, I think, $14,900. You would pay $79 to unlock the AMP, and that would be an additional $79 on top of that. You would have either a textbook that you're going to buy, a repertory and a materia medica, or the online Radar Opus package, which would be $500. That's Australian, mind you. So if you're American, you're looking at about $250 because the Australian dollar is so crappy at the moment. So it's about $250 US. And then you've got your mentoring. So that can be as low as, again, 500 Australian, which is about 250 American. So you are looking at about an extra amount of about 1,000 Australian dollars. So let's say 16,000 Australian for everything that you would need to graduate and be a fully fledged homeopathic practitioner. Now, $16,000, if you do compare it with all of the other homeopathic curriculums around the world, yes, it is definitely the most cost-effective course for the 2 years that exists. It's substantially lower. Why is that? Well, because we have the amount of people that allows us to do that. The bigger the cohorts, the more that we are able to give our students collectively, of course. So that is, yes, we're extremely blessed and we don't take that lightly. I wanted this course to be in financial reach of the majority of people. You know, we cannot afford, if I paid $30,000 for mine, my education, that most people do not have that, and we cannot put it against the government anymore. So it's like, I know that people, even for the $15,000, $16,000, people are stretching themselves thin a lot of the time. I do believe, of course, that it is absolutely worth it. And when you graduate, you will be making that back in no time. But these are outlays. We are living in a world where a lot of people are really financially struggling. And so that is why we have tried to keep it that way. Remedies can be dispensed either by you, if you buy your own dispensary, or you can dispense them straight from the pharmacy. So there's no change of hands. You know, they will actually buy that from the pharmacy. Have I missed any of the question? Extra coursings. I think that might be it, guys. If we start the module for AMP in January, will that get us ahead? Or is it just for extra learning? Will that be a requirement if we start in September? Yes, it is a requirement. Now, let's say hypothetically, we have a medical doctor who does sign on and they're really sort of skimming through the AMP quickly. There is still a little quiz at the end of every module to make sure that you have fully absorbed all of the course content. So people could power through it. But yes, if you start that in January, it means that you have signed off those 52 hours. You've learned a lot of the medical terminology, the things about anatomy and physiology. It makes your homeopathic practice easier when you do have a firm understanding of that. So by starting that in January, you're going to lighten your load for September. However, it's not going to be an insurmountable load if you do split that 50 hours over 2 years in the course. So it's really up to you. Personally, if it was me and I had time on my hands, I would definitely unlock it in January and get it over with so that I'm really just focusing on my homeopathy. But, you know, you guys have different schedules. You can decide what works for you. At the completion of the program, are we certified homeopaths? Yes, you are. You're an advanced practitioner of homeopathy, APH. And no, you don't have to sit for a test in your home country. That's assuming you are in the, say 95% of places in the world that does not require registrations. If you live in France, Belgium, or those 3 states in America, you're going to have to sidestep that and just investigate that. So I would recommend looking in your local, states and just finding out, what are homeopaths doing here? There's always a way around it, but we do have to practice, ethically, legally. We don't want you guys stressed, trying to do something that you shouldn't be. Will we learn about the 6,000 homeopathic remedies or just the major ones? We focus on the polycrest, but yes, there are lots of therapeutics that you learn. Say we have the birth lectures, right? So remedies like Sakali, Coliphylum, Simicofuga, like these ones are not main polycrests where you're going to want to do an hour deep of study on them. But yes, they are going to be covered for the therapeutic value that they offer. So you'll be exposed to probably hundreds of remedies, but no, not 6,000. We teach you how to navigate the books so that if you ever needed it, you can find your way to one of those 6,000 though. So you'll be able to use them, but no, you're not going to be taught 6,000 remedies. You would, my goodness, get lost in the sea of information. Can you have access to the slides after this live session? Let me ask Ash to email it out to all of you, maybe a recording and the slides for your perusal. If she's okay with that, I can't promise. Ash is my sister. She is the other half of Remedy Collective. She is an absolute powerhouse. You guys will probably be interacting with her, throughout as well. But she is the boss. She gets the final say. Often, people ask me something in a thing and I'm like, let me check with Ash first. So I will do that. Are the remedies built or created with regards to the local environment? No, they are the same remedies worldwide, but they're also very effective. But you also learn in the course how to make your own remedies should you ever need it. Say if people want to make a remedy out of their own placenta, or if somebody in your local town was suffering allergies from a certain tree that only grows in your town, knowing how to make a remedy from that might be really profound and helpful. We have some chronic cases where sometimes practitioners do make up their own remedies. Jan Blair, for example, had a case where a woman had chronic, profuse discharge from the vagina, and it just would not, with any remedy. She was struggling to break through, and she's a profoundly brilliant homeopath, and it wouldn't break through. When she made a remedy out of the woman's own discharge, and the woman had that, remember, diluted and succussed to the point where there is no actual discharge left in the remedy, but the energetic resonance fed back to the woman, it stopped her chronic discharge, which had really plagued her for a very, very long time. So learning how to make your own remedies might be something that, appeals to you if you're into that more local aspect. Okay, anatomy and physiology will not be ready until January to be unlocked. So you guys, unfortunately, will need to wait for that. Brilliant. All of the information, even regarding mentorship and opportunities, that is all on our Academy website. Click the little bottom up, the button up the top. Just scroll down and read all of that. Okay, guys, I think I might be through it.
Melissa,
We've just got one, Mel,
yeah?
and that's, can you retake quizzes? And yes, you can take them as time and time again until you get them right. So they're not there to trick you or anything else. They're just there to help you learn and make sure that you understand each element.
My husband is currently doing our course, and when he's doing his quizzes, wants to come and sit next to me, and and I'm like, bud, you can get it wrong. It's fine. You can do a rerun. He's like, yeah, but I don't want to get it wrong. I said, no one's going to see that you've gotten it wrong. So yes, you can absolutely resit that, and you just resit the whole quiz again until you get 100% on that. Peter, were you going to say something?
Yeah, why don't you tell the listeners about your recent trip to the USA, and particularly when you went to Washington, D.C. and what you found in Scott Circle?
Yes, so there is a statue of Samuel Hahnemann. He is the only medical physician ever honoured with a statue in DC. And it's interesting because he's not even American. That is how profound his contribution was of homeopathy, that they actually built this massive, I mean, it's not some little pokey statue in the corner. It's like, it is a main event. Like, he was the guy. So yes, the power of homeopathy is definitely on its way back up, up and up. All of that suppression, you guys know, is all undoing.
Well,
what role does it? Oh, sorry, Peter.
Oh, I thought you might add on that around 1900, when that statue was erected and unveiled by the President of the United States at the time, there were 100 homeopathic hospitals in the United States. There were 1,000 homeopathic pharmacies. There were about 20 homeopathic universities, colleges in the United States at that time. Homeopathy has been enormous in the United States in the past, but it's all moved on. But the memory is there. You might have to dig a bit, but if there are any American listeners, you have a significant heritage and legacy in homeopathy. It's just been wiped over by, sadly, money and corruption. So that's where it's gone. But you had it, and so bring it back, please, soon.
George has asked, is that course also on your website? I wonder if that was the short course that we used to do for practitioners. Unfortunately, no, I'm sorry. We won't be offering that one again as we've moved into really the comprehensive 2-year course. But you might be able to find another course, you know, around the world that's just a bit of an additional adjunct to teach you, you know, even homeopathic first aid. So powerful. If naturopaths, kinesiologists were using that even just for first aid, absolutely profound. Will there be any options for scholarships in future? At this point, no. The IICT is looking at offering a scholarship for our course themselves. And who else was it? Yeah, but no, I'm sorry, not at this point. Because guys, how would I ever choose? Do you know how many applications I would have for scholarships? How many I already receive? It would literally break my heart. So it's just not something that we currently do. I think you've mentioned you have a play in regenerative farming. How can we get involved in that? That's completely separate to my work in the academy and as a homeopath, but agro homeopathy, which is looking after our farms and, you know, using, instead of pesticides and toxic things, using homeopathy. There was a conference recently and it was devoted purely to agro homeopathy. It is a huge and upcoming, you know, area, but not something that I have at the moment that people can get involved in. We had Jeff Johnson, you know, when he was teaching his vet homeopathics this week, he had a 5-hour lecture. Things like mastitis in cows and the quality of the milk, you know, where farms were threatened to be shut down because of the quality of the milk and the mastitis in the cows. He gave the remedy that the farmer needed to the cows because this farmer spent so much time with his cows. He put that remedy in their troughs and the milk quality just went so profoundly. So the healing that we can even do with animals on farms, it's something that needs to be investigated profoundly. All right, guys, the software Radar Opus. Lisa Strabak has some courses if people want to look into it. I know is offering homeopathy. Awesome. That's just people letting you know of some adjuncts of courses. All right, guys, I think we might be to the end of our questions. Do you get a remedy kit included in your course fee or purchased separately? You would buy your own homeopathic remedies. You can buy them from the pharmacy. We do sell to our students our practitioner kit, which has 70 of the most commonly prescribed remedies, and we sell that as home accords. That's a story for inside the academy, the depth, the power of our home accords. It's something that we love. I believe the reason that 90% of our students have had profound results in their very first cases taken is because they are almost unanimously using home accords. Once you see the power of them, it's hard for me to go back to, you know, doing a single potency. It's not something I do. It's not something Peter does. And Jean would probably very rarely do it now. It's just once you see them work, it's profound. I would say we are leading edge in regards to our potency and posology. That's what makes Remedy Academy quite different as well. There's a lot of magic in that. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. Sorry, this has gone longer than normal. And we've still got 50 people here. So thank you so much for being a part of it, guys. I will ask Ash about sending out the recordings for your referring back. If you have any questions about the sign up for the next cohort, please email the academy@remedycollective.org. And we look forward to meeting all of you in September. Thank you, Peter and Jean, for joining me this morning.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Folks, it's been great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you soon.